Hello and welcome to week 3 of Politics of Southeast Europe. Our topic for this week is nationalism. Nationalism is, of course, a central issue in the study of Southeast Europe. It's possible that it's an overemphasized one. Why is it a central issue? I will present a null hypothesis that will not surprise you at all. And that is the belief that past conflict and present conflict in Southeast Europe is the product of nationalism. But if we look at this hypothesis critically, it looks a little bit troubling. Is it really the product of nationalism, or are we reading backward from a situation in which nationalism is mobilized to develop a retroactive explanation? If we want to look at the historical record, we find there are really very few conflicts that could be called national in the region. Before the wars for independence in the 19th century, there were none. It would be more accurate in most cases historically to say that the development of national conflict and of national competition is a product of political dynamics that developed at the time of the retreat of the large empires that were in power in the region, the Ottoman and the Austro-Hungarian empires. Nonetheless, we're stuck with this thesis, and nationalism becomes a kind of fallback explanation for everything that happens in the region, and I want to explore that a bit. Here is an outline for what we'll be doing in this series of presentations. First, I'm going to talk a little bit about nationalist theory, present to you some of the main touchstones of nationalist theory, and try to identify some of the basic assumptions behind them. Second, by looking at some recent research in the region, I want to talk about some problems with nationalism as an explanatory factor. Third, I want to make some suggestions for some ways that we might want to look at nationalism. And then finally, I want to go to the region and try to raise the question, is nationalism a cause of conflict, as is commonly argued, or is it better understood as a consequence? And I want to do this by looking at what I'm calling the long 1990s, that is the period of unbroken political influence of nationalism that seems to be in force since the time when Yugoslavia disintegrated toward the end of the 1980s and beginning of the 1990s, right up through the present, and see whether we can identify or at least suggest some explanations for that fact. So let's begin in the next presentation by talking about some theories of nationalism.